Hello, in this video we'll be setting up Logic Pro for media composition. So this is when we're working with film. So if we get started, open up Logic and create a new project. If it asks you what type of track you'd like to create, you can click on Audio and Create. So the first thing we need to do before we can import the video into Logic is to adjust our sample rate settings. In order to do this, go to File, Project Settings, and Audio. You'll see a dialog window pops up and there's a drop down menu here for the sample rate. Logic will normally default to 44.1 kHz, which is the default standard when you're working with music production. However, when you're working with film, it is best practice to use 48 kHz. If you are working with orchestral music or something that involves large scale instruments and sounds, then you may wish to go up to 96 kHz, but for the purposes of this project, 48 kHz will be fine. So select 48 and you can click off the dialog box here. Okay, so we're ready to import our video into Logic. The way to do this is to go back to File, Movie, a browser window will appear and you can search for the film that you want to import. I've stored this one on the desktop and the film we're working with is one of the scenes from Interstellar. Before Logic will import the movie, you will be prompted with a couple of questions. You'll be given the option to open the movie in the viewer window, and you'll be given the option to extract the audio track. Tick both of these boxes. Extracting the audio track from the video allows you to edit that audio track without affecting anything on the video track. If a movie that you have imported is at a different sample rate, make sure you maintain the 48,000 Hz, 48 kHz that we changed it to a moment ago. Finally, you'll be asked what frame rate you'd like to use. Logic is defaulted to 25, however the film is at 23.976. It is best practice to keep the frame rate that the film is currently set at. This will avoid any playback issues later on. As you can see, the film has now been imported. Logic has opened up the viewer window. We can move this around and we can even hide it by clicking on the X in the corner. If we want to reopen the video, we can just double click on the thumbnail here. You will see now in the sequencer window that we have a movie track set up for us. We can extend this if we want to see the still frames. And as you move the cursor along, we will see the video playing back in the thumbnail. The audio has also been placed onto its own track. This enables us to mute, unmute, or chop up the audio and edit it freely without destructing the video itself. The last thing we want to do is set up our global tracks. Global tracks allow us to make changes that affect the whole project. This movie track is in fact one of those global tracks. If you want to open and close the global tracks section, you can click on this button here, the square with the triangle in it, and it will close the section or reopen it for you. You can choose which global tracks you want to see by right-clicking on this area. If you don't have a right-click button on your mouse, hold down the control button on the keyboard and then click. You will see various options. The ones we want to choose are marker track, tempo track, and time signature track. We will look at these in more depth later on. Before we finish, we would like to check that the sound and the video are working. I will unmute the audio track and hit play. We can hear and see that that is working correctly. We want to mute the track as we would like to compose our own music over the top of it without being interrupted by the original soundtrack. So if it's muted and we hit play, we see the video but we don't hear the sound. You may have noticed that the audio track has a lock symbol on it. What this means is that the track has been locked to the time code and not to the bars and beats. So if we change the tempo of the track, the position of that audio will not move away from the video position. This is important for synchronizing sounds such as dialogue or an explosion where the impact sound has to occur at the exact moment in the film. We will explore this lock in more detail later on.